With each new season comes a brand new style of building, and when it comes from my Shadowkeep builds or even my pre-Shadowkeep builds, they always change from season to season. One season I'm talking about mobility, one season I'm talking about recharge rates of grenades, one season I might even be talking about melees. It just always changes because that's what Bungie does. They always change the combat in some form or fashion from DLC to DLC. And my job, not only as just a player, but as a content creator, is to figure out the hack for that DLC and find out what the combat's going to be like for that DLC, and then try to make builds that are relevant for that DLC that goes based on how the combat is, if that makes sense. The main purpose of this channel is to teach people how to be more aggressive, how to get a better just skill set in combat, let you push a little bit harder. That way you can actually start slaying the ads and not feel like you have to skip a bunch of ads because the combat is just too much to handle. If you're the type player that still likes to hang out in doorways and doesn't want to actually push and get inside the battle, that's not what Bungie intended for Grandmaster players to be. They wanted you to, evolve your gameplay level and your build level and your strategic level, tactical advantages and things like that, and figure all this stuff out so that you can actually enjoy and get inside the battle of Grandmaster and not feel like you have to cheese your way to get a title. Some people are earning their titles, other people are just getting carried to their title. And that's totally fine. Some people just don't have the skill set to do it, and that's just what it is. But that's also the purpose of my channel. It's not to, come across as an arrogant player. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and because of the knowledge and the data and the time that I spend studying things in this game, sometimes I guess it can come across as like this know-it-all or whatever, but it's always backed by knowledge that I went out to find myself. I always assume that I'm wrong, and then I do tests to prove that wrongness is rightness. And that's the entire foundation of this channel. I want others to experience the rewarding sensation that I get when I go out of my way and practice and overcome things that I completely thought were impossible to do. For example, on console, taking out a champion with a sidearm. When this season first started, I just completely wrote them off. I was like, there's just no way you're going to be able to kill a champion with a sidearm. But then I just got this little bug in me and I was like, man, I'm going to sit here and just figure this out. And then once I figured it out, all the data in the game and how Bungie paces everything and like balances the weapons and things, it started making complete sense when it came to a Grandmaster level about how much precision and how much just everything had to be executed almost perfectly if you chose to use those anti-barrier options this season, such as the sidearms and SMGs. And I was like, wow, that's just insane how much detail Bungie puts into it, to where it's just gotta be just perfect situations, perfect amount of combat DPS, and just all these other things were just unfolding in front of me as I was like practicing, and it was just insane. And I want others to experience that, because once you push past that limit and you just see the other side of combat, you're going to see other players that are still hanging out in front of those doorways and afraid to enter areas. When you have all these strategies under your belt, you're going to be like, man, I can't believe I used to be that player when I used to, be afraid to jump in the middle of combat, and now I'm just carving out all these strategies and just slaying my way through the finish line, killing every ad. I don't have to skip areas anymore. I'm confident enough to just jump in and start crushing shit, and it's just a fucking blast, man. And that's what I want others to really just understand. And I get challenged by people a lot on this channel. Because of the content that I teach, it's, a place to get trolled, basically. People are like, oh, this arrogant fucking asshole, So I get challenged a couple times a month, and then 99% of the time, the people that, trolled me and tried to challenge me after I outslay them and, put them in their place, because that's what they asked for, then they're 100% cool with me, and they understand it, because a lot of people never get on fire teams that take it to that level. And that's not to say, again, that I'm some just badass awesome gamer, but there's a lot of players that don't ever push to that limit or know that that limit is even there, and a lot of it is because of their build. They got the skill, but their build doesn't allow them to actually put that skill set or grow in the game, because they don't know what they don't know yet. And that's the freaking crux of my whole channel, is trying to explain things that I 100% know, because I have just built myself up to know this stuff and ran millions of tests over the years to know that what I'm teaching is 100% the best way to do things, or the fastest way. But I'm also coming from a speed kill level and a speed killer competitive player from Destiny 1, so my whole mindset in Destiny is always about speed, precision, and perfect combat execution when it comes to strategies. When I do a strategy, I gotta be 100% committed. Otherwise, if I fuck up at all, I'm gonna die. I do strategies to where if I mess up at all, I'm going to be dead. But once I figure those out and it becomes a motor skill, I can do them every single time, and it takes a specific type of weaponry to pull out the strategies that I'm trying to do. So when I tell you that a weapon's not good, or a weapon's great, it's because of what they can and can't do due to those limitations. But anyways, let's hop into this video. I'm going to start it off with Eye of Another World because people still ask me about this, and I'm going to explain why I still use it over like Nest Sin and things like that, even if I'm using Void Weaponry, and it's because it's perfectly balanced for the pace of Grandmaster and its recharge rates that it grants. I can get 16-second grenades with the Ionic Traces and the Eye of Another World with Mid-Tree Arc. I can also get 9-second grenades, and the more adds, the better. And also, I can use any weapon that I want to with this. I can use Jotun, I can use Roar of the Bear, I can use any weapon and Void weapons and still get those passive recharges, and this is the only exotic that allows those passive recharges when you're pinned down or where there's no adds around, or when you're in a boss fight, and it synergizes well with other subclasses, and even if it doesn't, I still get those passive recharge rates, and I always build my tiers based on the strategies that I'm going to be doing in combat that I repeat every time I do a Grandmaster or any type of event. There's always a specific pattern and set of movements that I make every time that I run a Grandmaster, and that's the guides that I always figure out. And once I know everything that I'm going to be running, I can dial in perfectly the amount of tiers that I need that goes with the randomness of combat mixed with these perfect strategies that I always go for. I'll talk more about that as the video plays along, but let's learn about movement right now and the enhanced movement you need for Grandmaster combat. So pay attention to what seems like random movement right now. This movement actually isn't random at all. I'm actually showing you this, how I'm dodging the sniper while I'm moving around and reloading my rocket. I'm going to show you a lot more of this, but we're going to just start it at this pace. I'm just going to start it with snipers. We're going to talk about other enemies as well, but no matter how much I talk about this, you still have to go out of your way and learn the rhythm of enemies as well. So I can just show you me dodging enemies and the correct movements, but when you actually have the joystick in your hand or the control in your hand, you have got to learn the motor skills of it yourself. But right here I can synergize movement, my resist, and my recovery to still survive things like this. I can go ahead and just crap on this yellow bar if I wanted to, but I'm just showing you how when I'm hit, it's not good to jump away. If you jump away, they're programmed to go ahead and just melt you immediately. But if you know how to zigzag and know exactly how their shot patterns are going to be, it's going to give you a better chance of survival and just knowing the rhythm and their mechanic of how they do things. Same back to snipers. So when they shoot, there's always a specific rhythm they can do. Most people would, if they're hit, they're going to jump out of the way immediately and go run for cover. So what I recommend doing is find any Grandmaster such as this one right here and just use it as a practice field. Start off with long distance snipers like this, and you'll see that, it's easy to dodge this, but let yourself get hit a few times. This is also why your resist mods are very important, and again it goes back to building. You only have so much room to put so much things on your build, so you can't, put everything towards your discipline and then have no resist mods, because if you get accidentally sniped or screw up at all, it's nice to not make that an instant revive and be able to, fight your way through it if things were to hit the fan. When I got sniped just there, most people would jump away and go hide, but since I know the rhythm of his snipes, it's an easy dodge for me and I can stay toe-to-toe with him the entire time. By knowing the rhythm and the actions of your enemies, this is what's also going to help you push a lot harder. I actually don't even have to face the sniper. I can go strictly on the sound in my headphones to know when I need to snipe. I know once I hear that first snipe, all I got to do is move any way to the left or to the right, or if I'm in the air, I know to cut my jump off, which I'm going to talk about more in just a second, how to pump your jump if you're in a situation where you know you're about to get sniped by anybody, but it goes back to combat rhythm. The more experience that you get with this, the more experience you're going to be with your joystick movements. The more experience you get with your joystick movements, the more you know you can push a lot more and wiggle your way around the whole battlefield while staying hella aggressive and be able to fit in tight corners and know exactly how many shots you can take before you die to know exactly how much aggressiveness you can add in combat. I'll briefly show you the pump jump right here, but I'm going to go way more in depth with it here in just a second when I have a lot of enemies shooting at me and how it's important to know what enemy you need to dodge more than any other enemy. There's a bad rhythm right there when I pump my jump, so you really just have to go and have precise movement, especially in Grandmaster, and that goes back to the harder the activity, the faster and more precise enemies shoot you. So once you get all the sniper rhythms down, they're no longer that much of a threat anymore, and you gain that confidence in battle to be more aggressive and push a lot harder. After you get enough practice at ranged snipers, you can start moving your way more forward and start etching your way closer and closer, and this is where your mobility is going to kick in. The higher your mobility value, the closer you can get to a sniper while still wiggling around their shots. Now when it comes to dodging them, there's another tip you need to learn as well, but let's talk about the sea walk first before we get into the next segment. Back when I made worse videos than I do now, I talked about the sea walk in my very first Guardian Bootcamp video, and this was something that goes way back since Destiny 1. It's when you get your shield first busted. This movement will allow you to get a second chance before getting killed. As soon as you see your shield get busted and you're surrounded by enemies, it's really crucial that you stop what you're doing and pivot your Guardian in the shape of a C no matter which way you're coming from. Basically, it could be like a backward C or an actual shape of a C, but it's always in a arc movement like that. And what it does is it resets their shot pattern and gives you a split second to survive or get your recovery back up, which is another reason why I recommend recovery, which is one of the most important stats in Grandmaster. But another important tip is, the lower you get an enemy, if there's any other enemies in the distance, they'll always be procced to try to kill you to save their little buddy. So you can see me shooting this dreg right here, and you can see there's going to be some enemy that I don't even see or pay attention to that's going to be behind a wall way off in the distance that somehow knew I was over there killing his friend and killed me. You might notice this a lot with overload champions as well. When you start killing one, the other ones are programmed to step in front of the other overload champion to try to save them. It's really with every champion, but more so the overloads. Now let's go back to snipers again and talk about the dodging, because this applies to any other enemies as well, but mainly just snipers. But another tip when it comes to snipers, on console especially, when you dodge to the right side, that's always the best way to dodge a sniper. Really most enemies in the game, but mainly snipers. You'll see every time I go to the right, it's much more easier to snipe. That happens with the arms dealer boss as well, but anytime I go to the left and dodge, the timing just never seems to work out right, and they always catch the right side of your body every single time. So when you're in really hard activities and you have a sniper in front of you, always make sure you dodge to the right if you're going to dodge at all. Now when you add in a lot of enemies with this goes back to dodging the one that counts. By learning these movements, not only is it going to make you a more aggressive player, but in those close calls and your shield's busted and you're almost dead, again going back to having perfect resist balancing and a lot of high recovery, it's going to help you out in combat. But one important tip is never jump away. Always pump your jump. They're programmed to know when you do a full jump away to catch you with that jump shot. No matter if you're in a busted shield stage or not, they're just programmed to know your full extent of your jumps. So when you pump your jump, you prevent that from happening and they'll barely miss you every time. So pay attention to this movement here, but again, I can talk about it, but if you don't go out and practice it yourself, you're not going to get the motor skill of it or recognize when it needs to happen. Whenever you master the timing of the snipers, every time you start to jump away, right before they shoot, you're going to pump the jump to stop it. That way they shoot right past your head and it doesn't kill you, and it gives you a chance to recover some health if you're in a busted shield stage. You have a lot of other enemies shooting at you as well, but the most important one is going to be the sniper, or always the hardest hitting enemy. That's the one you got to dodge the most. This may or may not take a while to figure out, but it's definitely a skill you want to have under your belt, because it's not like you got to dodge every sniper or every enemy every time you enter a room. I'm not even firing back. Most of the time I would be shitting all over these ads, but once you get the joystick movement down, it's going to grant you another level of confidence. It's going to train you to know how many shots you can take to let you know how aggressive you can be in combat. It's going to make you better than players that don't take their time out to do this. And you'll be able to execute strategies that only those that put their time in will be able to perform, and that's how you're going to get a lot of your kill counts, fighting in locations others can't. Two people can have the exact same build on, but only the ones that know how to master their joystick movements and their strategies and how to carve in and out of battle and squeeze in where they need to squeeze in are going to be the ones that can outperform and be the overall beast. The pump your jump works exactly the same with servitors. However, they have a little bit of a timing difference compared to snipers. You have to basically just listen for their shot, and right when they're about to do it and they pump that shot out, that's when you're going to pump your jump. But you're not going to completely stop yourself in midair because they have more of a wider shot. You're going to pump it and then jerk the joystick to the left or the right, or whichever way you're shooting, opposite of the direction you were heading basically, and that's what's going to let you dodge servitors. They're not really that much of a threat though. They're kind of a weaker type of champion, but if you do learn and know this and do enough practice to get the motor skill of it down, if you're ever in a tight spot and you got like sniped by some other ad or shot by some other ad and your shield's busted and you can't take that servitor's one shot, you know how to counter that shot and be able to survive it. And then again, if you have high recovery mixed with your resist mods and things like that, a good build on, that's what's going to let you survive and be able to push more aggressive than anybody else that doesn't know this kind of stuff. And then once you learn things like this, you can take that skill set anywhere in the entire game, whether it be a raid, a nightfall, you know, anywhere in the entire game, and be able to crush a lot harder. But I can't sit there and go over every type of enemy. You're actually going to have to go out in the world and find these type of locations that are good practice environments and do this to different types of enemies, whether it be auto rifles, whether it be big Mario 3 shanks or whatever, those big, you know, enormous shanks, whether it's a Cabal LMG champion, any kind of champion basically, or any kind of ad. You just have to go out and study and practice all those ads so that when you encounter them and you're doing like a for real run and you're trying to go beast mode, you're way more confident in battle when you're pushing strategies and stuff like that, and the more aggressive you can be in combat, the better your strategies evolve and become, and the better your building becomes, because you know from then on you're going to be doing this specific strategy. So you know you always need a grenade here, and you always know when you're going to be using your grenades at the same time. There's going to be down times you're going to use your grenades, and there's going to be times you're going to need a grenade for a strategy, and you'll be able to distinguish the two when it comes to loading your build out and balancing a lot better. That may not make a lot of sense right now, but the more you do this and take your time out and practice this, the more insight you gain, so that when you're actually making a build for a specific Grandmaster Nightfall, you know you're going to run the same thing every single time. You know exactly when you're going to need a grenade. You'll also know when you can waste a grenade, because the next time you'll need a grenade will be a long time from now, so you know you can afford to waste that grenade, or whatever the situation. But it always is going to play out the exact same, and that's why when it comes to my builds and building in general, I got really good at doing it, because I know exactly what I need and I never waste anything at all. Just give it some time and it will all unfold, and then everything that I'm saying right now will click and you'll be like, oh shit, this game is super deep. But let's get on to the next type of enemy that I recommend everybody learn to solo, especially with a sidearm, even though you might not be able to do it because of the season change. But if you didn't take the time out to learn Cabal LMG champs, you missed out on some hella skill set. Let's talk about them now, and I'll give you a lot of tips you can do when it comes to trying to handle these dudes. The first time you encounter an LMG Cabal champion with a sidearm, it's going to look a little something like this. You're going to have a little bit of range between you, and if you're on console, you're going to be like, how the hell am I ever going to kill this guy? Because it seems like they can just down you so quick, which they can. It takes about 0.3 to 0.4 seconds for them to kill you, so you have to figure out their dodge mechanic. Otherwise, you're just going to keep doing this until you're eventually out of ammo. So you got to find the right movement, and you got to understand how to control them and their LMG gun, especially at 30 frames per second. It's hard to really make out when they pick their gun up and get ready to shoot, but the more you do this, the better rhythm you start to understand about them, and they're really not that hard at all. What I recommend doing the first time is grab your sidearm and make sure that you always have their gun to the left side of a wall. As you can see right here, how I have his gun hidden on the side of the wall. That's going to let me get closer to him without having to stand 20 feet back, when sidearms on console really give you about 7 feet of range, it feels like, maybe around 13. But once you figure out you just need a wall to the left side of you, that's when you can kind of control them a lot better, and they're really not as difficult to take out as it might seem. It really depends on the location the champion is at. But if you're watching this video before sidearms aren't the anti-barrier anymore, I highly recommend grabbing a sidearm and going in here. It takes 13 crit shots, so that's the max amount of ammo that I have in each magazine. Luckily, I did find this roll later in the season that had rapid hit on it, which makes it a lot easier to do, but it really doesn't matter what sidearm you have. I had to learn how to do it with several different types of sidearms, energy sidearms and primary sidearms. But the trick to them is to know that every time you dodge to the side of a wall, they will always stop shooting their LMG. So if you see them starting to pick their gun up and you understand their rhythm, all you gotta do is strafe to the side of a wall real quick, and they'll quit shooting, and then you just keep strafing left and right behind the wall over and over again. And then once you figure out that mechanic, that's when you can start adding more range shots in, as you'll see right here. Every time I dodge to the side of the wall, he's going to stop shooting, and then I can relax a little bit more because I'm no longer, intimidated by this champion at all. So I know exactly what I have to do, each movement that I have to make, and how many shots that I can take based on the two major resiston that I have for this specific Nightfall. I had to figure out how to do sidearms because I wasn't going to go all season using Ariana. I just refused to use that weapon. I wanted to use a Slayer loadout, so sidearm was really my only option to use because it gave me a lot more range than an SMG, and I had options that I can get later, like rapid hit and things like that. But that's how you do LMG Cabal champions. Know their dodge, or any Cabal champion really in general. Every time you dodge to the side of the wall, that's going to make them stop shooting and give you a split second to poke back out and start shooting them again before they start shooting back at you. And then you just do that until they finally pop their shield, and then you got to understand the rhythm of DPS that you can do before they set back up with their shield again. If you ever see them stagger when they're in a busted shield stage, that always means you can get an extra shot in before they put their shield back up. Remember that. And once you master these LMG Cabal champs with a sidearm or a weaker choice weapon aside from Ariana, then it doesn't matter what situation you're in versus any type of champion, such as this situation in the tank room during the arms dealer. Most people can't come up here and fight these champions, let alone with a sidearm. But once I mastered these champions and know every mechanic about them, I can put myself in situations like this that most people won't be able to survive or know how to survive. And because of learning this experience, if I ever run into any hiccups through battle, such as right here, I didn't have my rocket loaded, so I know that because of that, I have just enough time to reload it and shoot the rocket and I can't afford to put any other type of damage out, otherwise he's going to shield up. So then I just have to prep and deal with the situation, rely on my sidearm, and then hopefully get a stagger in to be able to get 4 Telesto shots off before the other champion walks in front of him to completely block him, to where I have to start all over with no ammo to kill the champions. So the more experience you get with this, the more practice you put in, the more calm you can make every situation, because you'll know exactly what to do when you get in those situations. But if you're going in there fresh and, you know, shit hits the fan and you're on an inexperienced team, you are just not going to be able to handle as many situations, is what I'm getting at. But that's how you handle Cabal champions in general, except for the Unstoppables, which we're going to cover right now. Just a quick tip with the Unstoppable melee. You can't really do the Unstoppable melee on ogres because they glitch and they'll still hit you and kill you, but you always want to throw your grenade first, wait for them to pump to get ready to blast you, and then do the Unstoppable melee so that they're staggered while they're burning inside of your grenade to get more damage. Then once you do that, get about 2 or 3 Telesto shots or whatever the rhythm of your weapon is, and then run away. And then what it makes the champion do is he'll go back to his original control zone and not follow you in some locations. But in the beginning of the arms dealer strike, he will continue to follow you, but you'll get to a certain point to where you can do emotes and just, you know, mess around with these champions. They're not that hard at all to kill. Cabal and Unstoppables are really easy. But when it comes to the LMG champions, or the ones that shoot that arc blast out, they're a little more, you know, difficult to kind of overcome, but nothing in this game is impossible. There's always a way to do it without relying on cheese methods. And for the last half of the video, we're going to be talking about Grandmaster ad control and Grandmaster strategy. Most of you are probably familiar with this. You might have seen somebody else do it, but I actually figured out this strategy week 1 of the arms dealer in Destiny 2, whenever I did my first solo in Destiny 2 basically, and that's when you rocket all the ads as they first jump down, and that's what basically a strategy is and how you can create your own. A strategy is like your signature move, something that you do every single time. It's a carved out pattern, a repeatable pattern that you do every time that takes total control of all the ad situation, which means you got to learn a skill set of precision movement, accuracy, and aggressive combat to pull those off, to be able to take control of situations as fast as possible. Here's my arms dealer strategy and how my build is perfectly tuned to this arms dealer with my tiers, with the Eye of Another World, and how everything just comes together perfectly for every strategy that I do in the entire arms dealer. After I take out that thresher, I always run over here, I throw my first grenade followed by a rocket, and that cleans out the first group of ads, which are the main ones preventing me from pushing myself forward. And then anything left over, I finish off with Telesto. That one that I'm shooting now sometimes is in the mix of the grenade, but sometimes he's not, so it really depends. There's also snipers shooting at me, but they're no threat, because for one, I got the resist on, and 2, I can dodge them with ease. And then after that, I know that all 4 of those Cabal red bar are going to bundle up, and then this is where I'll need my second grenade every time, because the barrel always leaves the phalanx and one other ad, and I always just throw my grenade right over there, and that finishes out majority of my combat strategy for this first area. So that goes back to Eye of Another World and having the perfect balance of tiers based on the strategy that I'm going to be doing. After that, I just have the Unstoppable, which as you saw earlier is an easy takeout. Just bait him, hit the melee, and then back up. And then all I have left now are the 3 snipers, which they're easy because I know how to dodge them. Even if I was shot, I got the resist mods on. It's going to prevent me from dying. After I kill one of them, I go behind these missiles, make my way to the second one, and then I just have that third one left over, which is an orange bar, which again can't kill me because of the resist that I have on. I have 3 minor resist on and then 2 major resist, so anything in this battle I can pretty much tank extra shots from. And that goes back again to just strategy, and it's based on a speed kill strategy. So even though I'm not speed killing against anybody in particular, I build my strategies based off D1 and what I used to do and how to control areas the most effective way, such as my Warden of Nothing strategy where I hop up here on the pipe. I don't know anybody else that does this strategy, but it's the ultimate strategy for that first room. All I need is that one rocket cell build, and this is the only strike out of all the Grandmasters of Season 10 that I use suppression on, and it was only because there's yellow bars that are mixed in, such as this Hydra. So whenever I throw cells out, it kills all the red bars around, but what's left over are the yellow bars, and they're staggered right after that. So with that suppression, I can just finish them off with ease with no threat at all. Most of you probably are familiar with taking out this champ where I'm sitting it right here. This is a strategy that I use that is way more effective, and again, it's all about creating your own strategy by figuring it out through experience. So you see all the dogs coming at me, I'm going to jump, I'm going to plant a Telesto trap on the floor so that when I pass by, those dogs are going to chase me and fall right into that trap and then blow themselves up, and then I'm going to chill right here and just wait on the champ to jump down. and I have that block to the right of me where I can just keep strafing to the side to make him stop shooting at me, to poke out again, to pop his shield, hitting with the empowered melee to get more bonus damage, and it's an easy takeout with this strategy, and it's a lot cleaner because I don't have to worry about the dogs maybe getting past me or pushing me back, and the snipers that are usually right above me right now have no chance of hitting me. So after I take out this Cabal champion, all I gotta do is get my rocket out, hop up, take the 2 snipers out, and then boom, the first half of that area is already completed. Then I can just go over there and head glitch the other champion and be done with it, go get the ball, and then slam it in. This next strategy requires extreme precision to be able to be pulled off, but it's totally worth it once you practice it and get it down. I used to play with another guy that I always tried to get to go with me in this strategy, but he never would want to do it because he always was like, I don't want to die, basically. But it's the ultimate way to take out the tank room if you have a rocket launcher and all you need is your Sparrow, basically. But all you have to do, instead of sitting at the tank front room door, which is a bad place to be because then you have the tank exposed to you, plus all the ads throwing grenades at you, but all you do is you hop on your Sparrow, haul ass to the very right side. When you get past the 2 exploding barrels, you jump off, go in the air with your rocket launcher, and it is going to require some fast thinking because if you get shot, that's what your grenade's going to be there for, to throw that out while simultaneously dropping your well at the same time. That way you can tank any kind of shots. If you're stuck with a grenade or anything like that, such as you're going to see right here, that's why you have a great build on with those resists on there. It's going to be able to tank those grenades and leave you with that health left over to go back to your rift or back to your well. Any kind of guardian can do this strategy. Hunter is a little more tricky, but I've done it on my Hunter. I've also done it on my Titan, but it's an ultimate and my favorite strategy, and it completely, like I said, controls the entire tank room. Here's what happens if you don't pull the strategy off correctly, such as right here. I didn't kill the red bar Cabal, I hop up, as soon as I lay the well down, it doesn't matter, he's going to drain me because it only takes like 2 to 3 shots. 2 shots without any resist, 3 if you have the resist, but it's a really precise strategy. If you don't kill that far right Cabal, you might survive it, but if you don't kill him, you have to think really quick and throw that grenade right off immediately to hopefully finish him off. But that's what I love about strategies, because there's only one way to do them, and in Grandmaster, you don't really get a lot of second chances, and once you commit to these strategies, there's no turning back, and that's what I like about it. It's just aggressive beast and feels amazing once you pull them off. But after you do that, you might have to dodge a few of the tank shots, but all you gotta do is if you feel like you're getting, threatened too much, you just jump towards the back of the map. I'll show you the back area. You can fight the tank in just a second, but this is probably going to be irrelevant since Season 11, the arms dealer probably isn't going to be a Grandmaster. But what you achieve by doing this strategy is you don't have any, ads shooting at you from the entrance of the tank room, and all the ads, once you get on this platform, will just bottleneck themselves all the way across to the opposite platform of where I'm at right now, and you can just sit there and blast them and shoot them the entire time, and they have no way to shoot you back or anything. So you can control the entire tank room by doing this, and you can do it within seconds. All you do is just get that first rocket to land, hop up. I recommend not hitting the switch on this side yet. I recommend doing the other one across the room first, in case you got to take the 2 anti-barriers out first by soloing it at that top area. You don't want to accidentally hit the switch and that be the second switch. But once you learn all these Grandmaster strategies, and they're going to change per loadout, it depends on whatever loadout you're using. I like speed kill strategies, so I like to take out the ads and shut them down immediately. But once you get a hang of all this stuff, you'll be able to react against these ads, like they're regular strike ads. They're no longer become a threat for you. You'll make split decisions really quick. If you get blown off of a map, you'll know that you can pop your super to save the entire team. If you're the last guardian standing, you'll become an ultimate army of one. And if you all are army of ones on your team, you get 3 beasts on your team, and you can pull off strategies and ad clear and not have to rely on cheese spots anymore and actually earn your Conqueror title. You're going to feel like one hell of a player at that point. You're going to feel like you actually earned it, and then you're going to look at the other players that got carried to it and don't know what you know. You'll be able to tell immediately when you get on a fire team. You'll be able to look at somebody's build and data they have behind their build options and things like that. To each their own, but I only rely on data. And when it comes to building, I got to make sure that I have everything balanced correctly. I want to make sure I can take resist. I want to make sure I have the perfect amount of recharge. I don't want to have, tier 10 grenades when it's not even needed past the tier 6. If I'm using Eye of Another World, tier 7 really with the Eye of Another World, but it really depends on the strategies and then Grandmaster Nightfall that I'm going to be doing. Some Nightfalls I might need mobility. Some Nightfalls I might need, some strength if I'm using the melee charge like I was during Season 10 using Tyrant. The melee was a lot more effective, so I would build out for it. And then with the rocket cells mixed with the field prep, having a max blast field prep handling rocket gives you complete control over ad situations by having that incredible pull speed and blast radius and the survivability of Fireteam Medic, and mixed with everything, and then figuring out the cave strategy and Insight Terminus, figuring out the canyon strategy where I can hop across, you know, and not even worry about getting tanked if I have Devour on. There's a strategy for every single build, and I'm always trying to find the fastest builds in the game, every DLC, the ones that crush the hardest. Every loadout is different. If you use max DPS weaponry, chances are you're not going to be very good at ad control because it's going to be meant for a single target. That's why I use rockets and fusion rifles mixed with the cell builds right now, because there's nothing quicker when it comes to slaying all the ads down, and I have an equal balance of recharge rates, recovery. I'm geared out for ads, and I'm geared out for champions, and I'm geared out for the boss battle, and I have an aspect for everything that happens in every battle. I got special finisher to help out the entire team. I use recuperation. If I'm using a Devour build, I can be hell of aggressive, especially if I'm using a demolitionist, you know, fusion rifle to kill ads that way and simultaneously heal myself. If I'm using the ionic traces with Eye of Another World, you know, there's just, everything has a complete and perfect balance to it. You just have to spend a lot of time running data to make sure that every decision that you put on your build 100% makes sense, and it's completely min-maxed to the fullest with nothing on the build wasted. And that's one thing that over time you might even become like yourself, a huge OCD builder where you won't launch anything unless you have the most exact build on, and that's what I'm always trying to achieve, and that's what I try to teach on this channel, because when I play Destiny, it's a lot different than how other people play Destiny. I'm, you know, 6 years in, around 8,000 hours in, so what I do to enjoy the game nowadays might be a lot different from what people do it when they, you know, first have started playing, which I used to be all about the raids and, you know, all about all that jazz, but nowadays I only do a raid or an event or like trials whenever I just want something. Like if there's a new gun that I want, I'll raid until I get it, and then I just stop raiding. But hopefully raids in the future will be a lot more in-depth and better than they have been. Maybe they'll make it to where matchmaking could be a thing, maybe, I don't know, I doubt it. But either way, hopefully this guide helps you out and kind of unlocks the mentality that I have when I play the game, which is all about becoming beast and pushing myself to the limit, because though things might seem impossible, you might watch a solo video of somebody doing something incredible, it just takes a lot of time and repeating things over and over, and eventually it just becomes like a muscle memory, and it's not as difficult as you think it might be. It just really is just practice, and that's what it takes to become ultimate. If you plan on playing Destiny for a long time, then why not become beast? But anyways, Guardians, my name is Ristophilus. Thanks for stopping by. If you want to join our Beast Squad, or shop at teespring.com/Ristophilus to get some merch. I really do appreciate you all taking the time out, dropping by to show some support for the channel. I do it because I love this game, and I want to help grow this game and grow building and just evolve the game to, you know, the next level basically. And it takes us to take it to that level, so I want to be along for the ride, man. But y'all hit subscribe if you want more content. Hitting a thumbs up really helps my channel in the ranks and stuff like that to help get more knowledge out. It takes the community to launch a channel, and if you like what you see, I'll keep making it, but it just depends on you bros, man. You Guardians take it easy though. My name's Ristophilus, and I'll see you all on the next video, next time, next season.
In space.